So Roger, one very interesting thing too is you have a close relationship with Oklahoma. What is that about?
Well, it's Jersey boy gets inducted into the Oklahoma Blues Hall of Fame, right? How do you figure that out?
That's pretty cool.
Well, it's a long story, and it's not all about me doing that. I didn't do that myself. The way that started out was like years ago, probably 15 years ago. My wife Jolie, and I attribute this to her, and she denies it all the way. She says, "Oh, it's you. I didn't do anything." I said, "Yeah, you did," because she got on an airplane, and it was around Christmas time, probably around, oh man, like 90, 96, something like that. And she got on an airplane, and she was flying back from work, and there was a guy sitting next to her, and he was headed home to the Netherlands for Christmas. Now, Jolie's going to talk to people. I don't really talk to people in public like that. I mean, if I'm on an airplane, I'm kind of like wearing my sunglasses. I go to sleep, you know. And I'm probably probably blowing a lot of opportunities by doing that. But that's just the way it is. But she talked to the guy, and he's a great guy. I'm still in touch with him. His name is Rob Kaufman. He's from the Netherlands, but he lives in Oklahoma. And a technical guy was working for AT&T, software genius kind of guy. Well, she gets his card, and he's president of the Oklahoma Blues Society, Oklahoma City Blues Society. It just happens to be because she started talking about me playing guitar and playing some blues festivals and this and that. So he gives her his card, right? And she brings it home and gives me the card. She said, I was talking to this guy on the plane, and he's the president of the Oklahoma City Blues Society, and he wants you to call him, And I'm going, okay. So I get in touch with the guy, and one thing leads to another. I end up going out to Oklahoma City with my band and playing a club. It was called the Blue Note in Oklahoma City. It was right up the street from the monument, and the monument from the Oklahoma City bombing wasn't even built yet. It was still ruins of what happened.
Sure.
So I played there, and been back a couple of times out west, just touring, playing joints up and down the states, Kansas, you name it, when we were there. And so I kept in touch with Rob, and he says, well, you ought to get in touch with this festival. It's called the Dusk Till Dawn Festival. It's in Renniesville, Oklahoma, outside of Chakotah. I didn't know where any of that was. I knew where Oklahoma City was, but it was it was about 70 miles from Tulsa, maybe about 25 miles out of Muskogee, Oklahoma. And there was an older blues man from Oklahoma named D.C. Minner. And he had played in California. He had played on the West Coast he played with Albert King, and just a bunch of these guys over the years had worked with them. With the blues, the old blues guys, and a lot of these guys are not around anymore. Yeah. And he was in their band. And he had married a nice Jewish girl from New England, named Selby Minner. And they were married, and they were out there, and instead of wanting to be on the road all the time, they decided to live on his grandmother's property out in this section of Oklahoma, this very rural section outside of Chakotah, which coincidentally is Carrie Underwood's hometown. And so this festival goes on every Labor Day weekend. And so anyway, I think I called him up and sent my promo to him. And I remember I was on the road in Colorado, and I got a call from Selby, and she said, "Oh, we got your promo. We'd like to have you come out here." Well, we were on the road. I was playing, one night here, one night there, and we played the Hot Springs, Arkansas Blues Festival on a Saturday night, and went to Oklahoma the next day to that festival, and we were playing the Sunday night. The festival's always Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, but we played Sunday night, and basically closed it out. And then they have, and the reason it's called Dusk Till Dawn, it's so hot in Oklahoma during the day that there's this, you don't want to go out of the house. I mean, it's that hot.
Sure.
So the music starts at 6 on 3 different stages. It's got a back porch stage, a big outdoor stage, and the club inside. And the music starts at 6 and it goes till like 5 in the morning. Okay. So that's how they do. That's why it's called Dusk Till Dawn. But
5 in the morning. Huh?
Yeah. Well, and sometimes I hang till about maybe 2, maybe anymore. But so I'm at this festival, and this is the real deal. This is like 30 blues bands all weekend long. And I'm thinking, well, here I am the first time in, and I'm in on a Sunday night, and I do a set, and I hang around a little while, and then I'm gone. So the next year we come back, and I do it again. We play somewhere else, and I bring the band in. We play, one night, and then we're out of there. And I'm going, this ain't going to work. So then I skip a year, and then the next year I told Selby, I said, look, I just love your event. I said, I would love to come out there and just, there's good musicians there. They can just jump on with me, and I can play solo, and I can help them out. So I did that, and then every year after that, I started flying in. I'd fly, I'd be on the road somewhere, but I'd fly like Southwest Airlines. I'd fly to Tulsa, and they'd come get me, and I'd stay in the hotel, and I'd play the festival. I'd play an acoustic set, or, in between on the big stage, or jam with some, just whatever they wanted me to do. I would do it.
Dedicated to that festival.
Yeah. And then it got into the blues and the schools thing, where Selby is very involved in that, and I love the blues in the school. I love going in the schools and teaching kids about music, because these days they don't know what great music we had and where all the great music that we had or what they listened to came from. And so she took me over to the high school, and I met Jim Davis, who's a wonderful award-winning band director in Oklahoma. And this guy has just got he's a good trumpet player, he's a good arranger, he's very, very talented, just a super guy. And we became friends, and I'm sitting there one morning, and he had the band in there, and he whips out it's like 30 kids, and they're playing horns, and they're a whole orchestra, whole thing. And he counts it off, man, and they're playing like big band jazz stuff, and I'm going, wow,
Yeah.
And so I couldn't stay that year. I had to leave. I had to fly back. I was in Arizona. I flew out from Arizona because I was playing the campground there, and then I had to fly back to Arizona, but I came out for the festival for like 2 days. So after that, I started flying back and forth, and Jim and I would stay in touch. And I told him, I said, man, I'd like to come out there and cut a CD with your school. I said, I think it'd be really cool if we could do that, And there was a matter of how we were going to figure out how we were going to do it, like cost or this or that, because it would cost, And finally, but I started working with the band. I went out there and started playing. The next year, I'd go in there and I'd go into the band sessions, and we'd learn a few tunes. And so we came out the one time. I'm not sure if it was the first year. I think I played with them 1 year. We played the festival. The school band always opens the festival on Saturday night, like at 6 o'clock. It's the first act. And so I saw Jim the 1 year, and I said, man, it'd be fun to do this. I know it was another band that he had, kind of a jazz community band of musicians around, and they played 1 year. And I went up to Jim and I said, man, we hadn't talked in a while, but it'd be great to do this thing. And he goes, yeah. So in 2015, I think it was the 25th anniversary of the festival, and I'd been working, like I said, I've been working with the school. And Selby says, you've been out here with us how many years? And by then it'd been about 12, 13 years or whatever. Whoa. That I'd gone out there every year, and I just reserved Labor Day, and that's where I'm going to be. And she says, well, we're developing a thing for the Oklahoma Blues Hall of Fame for people that have contributed to the festival that aren't from Oklahoma, and we think you should be in it. And I was going, well, okay, that's not what I signed up for. I didn't come out here for that, but wow,
What an honor.
And so anyway, but we played the festival in 2015, and I recorded it, the video. It's all on my YouTube channel, but it's also on a CD, live at the 2015 Dustal Dawn Blues Festival, and it's a great CD. I didn't meet Carrie Underwood, but it's got a picture of me holding Carrie Underwood's plaque in the high school before they put it on the wall, which was kind of cool. And so we cut that CD, and it's done pretty good. The kids got copies of it. There was a little discrepancy in the fact that the kids didn't like the sound, because and this all goes into teaching kids, right? It was a live CD. There's some moments in it. It sounds good, I think, but there's a couple of little things that they hear that I didn't really hear. Like there's stuff in a band that I do that if I hear something, I know if it's not right or whatever's there. Now Jim has got a master's degree in music or whatever, and he directs these bands, and now he can hear horn parts and tell you like which kid is playing a little bit, maybe a little bit off, or and not even pitchy or anything like that, but volume wise or dynamic wise, he can tell which kid is doing what in there.
That's amazing.
Now me, I know what the horns sound like. I know what the horns are playing, and I know what I'm listening to.
Yeah.
But he knows each one that's in there. But the kids, he says, well, the kids weren't really all up on it, but I had already recorded in the classroom. I had already recorded sessions of the same songs in the classroom. So I made 2 versions of it. I made the live version, and I made a studio version. And I sent the studio version back to them, and they liked that better. But the next year, I came back into the class, and I was a little bugged by why they didn't like it. I thought maybe, not that they should have embraced me totally, but I think the parents should have jumped in more and been more excited about it than they were. And I think, but I felt bad for the kids because they weren't actually overly joyed about it. But I went in the next year and I wanted to find out about this. So I went in the classroom. I said, look, you guys were here last year and we cut that CD live. And I know you weren't, you didn't receive it very well, but I want to know why. I want to know what the issue was. And so some of the kids, one little girl pulled up, she says, well, it was really hot out there, and we were having a hard time with our horn. I said, okay, well, every gig you play from now on it's going to be worse than that, So I said, you're not going to be in Carnegie Hall every night. Right. You're going to be
with under air conditioning and all that.
It's going to be. I said, it's going to be horrible. I'll tell you that right now. If you're going to be a professional musician, just get used to it being bad going in, and then if it's good, it's even better, right?
There you go.
What I meant by that, the conditions aren't always going to be favorable. You're going to have, and then somebody else said something about like, another kid said something like, well, you couldn't hear the horns, you couldn't hear like the saxophones, or I said, I heard some saxophone in there. I said I heard everything, but but I said it was a live recording. But the energy you put out was good. I said, there might even, you listen to James Brown's early recordings, and there's they're smoking it, but there's still some rough edges in there somewhere, not bad, but enough to where it's live and cooking. And so I was excited about that, but what I had done, I had made this studio version. And I said, I made a studio version of all the same songs, and I brought them to you. And so now you guys have got 2 copies of the CD. You've got the studio version, which, when I say studio version, it's in their classroom that I recorded on my recorder, but it's clear and it sounds good. But it doesn't have that energy that came off the stage.
Like
studio recordings a lot of times don't. Some do, but sometimes they don't. A lot of times they don't. I've always been favorable to live albums because I like it live and in your face and just like you mean it.
Yes.
We're at the festival. Right after the school band played, they bring the truck in with all the stands and the stuff. I'm on the stage playing in front of the festival I got 30 kids on the stage with Jim directing, and we're smoking. And they played some of my songs with horn arrangements and everything.
Oh man!
And it was great. But it's still these are kids in school, but I'm trying to give them a recording credit before they get out of high school. That never happened when I was coming along. Anybody that made a record, you go, wow. And these kids are on iTunes now, with a recording credit. Now, whether or not any of them have embraced it, I think a couple of them have. Some of them, maybe they don't even know it. Maybe they don't care. I don't know. But they're there. But anyway, the couple of kids that played horns, a couple of boys that were getting ready to graduate, and we were talking after the set out on the field on the festival, and we're just having a great conversation with these kids, and the kid he says, I know what you're talking about. He says, I get it. I said, what's that? He says, we listened to both CDs, and you're right. There was the energy on the one and the technique on the other, the sound. And I said, well, that's all I was trying to get across to you. I said, you're going to get up there and you're going to put it out there. But I said, man, there's going to be hot days and cold days. I said, there's going to be days when it's always going to sound like crap on stage, but you got to understand that if it sounds like crap on stage, it's going to be okay out front. And that's how you got to look at it. So that's my Oklahoma Blues Hall of Fame story. That's how, and it's still happening. I've been out there 3 years since we made that CD and played with them every year, and still doing that. And I'll go again this year. That I go back to the beginning of that is that my wife Jolie made that happen.
Yeah.
From a little seed that she planted by talking to somebody on the plane, and I credit her with that. And she doesn't accept it, but it's hers,
Yeah.
So
Awesome.